Hey, have you ever had a percentage of each batch going to a merchant reserve, but now that your account is closed, you can't find the merchant reserve, or it's dwindled down to less than half of what you had initially? Let's talk about it. So you sign up for a merchant account, right? But it's labeled high risk, but you aren't really sure why. You know you need to process payments and you have this great product. Now, you no longer have that merchant account open, but your merchant reserve funds are either low or they're going out altogether. So let's talk about how this happens and some ways that you can avoid it. First, you need to understand, why is your business labeled high risk in the first place, right? How does being labeled a high risk business affect your rates, your transaction fees, and your costs? Have you factored that into your profit? And you've used the account, now it's closed, the merchant reserve you had is no longer there or it's dwindled. This can cut into your profit, and if you don't factor this into your cost, you can be spending money that you actually don't have, which puts you in the negative. So you need to understand what you have coming back to you, or what should be coming back to you, and if it's not coming back to you, why it's not coming back to you. So you got this merchant account, it's labeled high risk, right? And you agree up front, in most cases, unless you work with the high-risk payment aggregator who is used to people signing up super fast, beginning to process super fast without reading all the fine print. But in most cases, you have to agree to a merchant reserve to a certain percentage. But some companies, like I said, these high-risk payment aggregators, where it's really quick and it's real fast, then it's probably already somewhere in the terms and conditions. And some companies just hold your funds all together, surprise, surprise, and you don't get a chance to do that up front. So that's another level of a merchant reserve. But let's talk about, say, something different where you agree to a merchant reserve, right? Maybe you don't, but let's just say you agree to a merchant reserve. And let's say you make 100K in sales per month, okay? That's definitely $1 million business. But you have rates, you have transaction fees, you have chargebacks, you have all kinds of other fees coming out of a profit, right? You have ads, you have your marketing, you have your staff, you have your consultants, you have to pay a ton of different things to run your business. So you and I are in business, and we know that there's a myriad of things that we have to pay in order to stay afloat. And let's not say you have one of those kinds of businesses that's predicated on lifestyle, then you have even more expenses. You got to buy the fancy cars, you got to rent them, you got to buy them, then you have to keep upping each time, because that's what lifestyle marketing sometimes does. You have to consistently match what you did before. So you have merchant reserve. Let's say you agree to 20% coming out of each batch. Say $100 is your batch. That means $20 is going to come out of each batch, right? But say you're talking about $100,000, right? That means $20,000 is going to come out for your reserve. But hopefully you're not going to spend $110,000 when you really only have $80,000 coming out at the present moment, which could be a cash flow issue for you, right? And again, this doesn't account for other fees. The 20% or the $20,000 out of $100,000 doesn't account for the rates, the transaction fees, the fraud, the chargebacks, all kinds of other fees that you may have. So say we're at a 5-month period, you have over $100,000 in your merchant reserve account, right? But for whatever reason, maybe you had too many chargebacks, maybe you sold the wrong product, it doesn't matter. The account is closed, and now you want to get those merchant reserve back. Let me know in the comments, how much do you think you should have coming back, right? I'm going to give you one hint. I got to give you at least one or two unknowns. So let's say you have 100K, you have 20%, so in 5 months, right, you have 100K sitting in the merchant reserve. How much should you have coming back if you have 0.5% in chargebacks each month, and the chargeback fee is, say, $25. Let me know in the comments how much you think you should have coming back. It can be all over the place, right? There's so many different factors that go into that. How many of those chargebacks are considered fraud? Did you violate any Visa card brand bylaws, right? Did you sell a product that you shouldn't sell? Like, you really have to get the documentation from the payment processing company to find out exactly why you have the merchant reserves that you currently have. Now, here's another thing. Here are a few reasons your $20,000 out of the 100K is only $2,000 or maybe even $0. One, chargebacks. That should come from your bank account, right? Not your merchant reserve initially. Because if you put a stop payment on your bank account, it's going to create more fees that's going to affect your merchant reserve, okay? This is why money management is so important for you to have when it comes to running your business, especially as it relates to billing and payment processing and finance. It's super important to understand. I've seen a lot of people who get a ton of chargebacks and they just put a stop payment on their bank account, not understanding that that is going to absolutely hurt your merchant reserve. It's going to affect it. It's going to impact it for sure. You could have violated a car brand policy for having too much fraud, or maybe selling products that weren't agreed upon, which is another breach, and other fines that have been passed down to you. And then here's the other thing. A lot of times, because it's a company and maybe they have a popular brand, it's almost like we're religious and we're just relying on people to properly do the right thing by our company. You got to keep in mind, these people have no connection to you or I. They don't care about you or I, and they're in it for their particular bottom line. There's plenty of people who get their funds held and they can't really function, and then they get an email or promotion or solicitation from the same company offering them what they have held. Isn't that kind of ironic? So you don't want to be religious about whoever's managing your money. They have an agenda to make money as their bottom line. They could care less about your business. They can care less about your staff. In some cases, they could care less about your clients, which help to pay you and help to pay them, help to pay the sales agents. They could care less. So make sure you're not religious about that. Some people are greedy. Some will do whatever they have to make a dollar, and some will be ethical and will do the right thing. You need to know who you're working with. And here's the one key that you want to remember, right? Especially as it relates to getting your funds back. What you inspect, people respect. Now, if you think there's something in this video that positively impacts you, hit the like button. If you don't agree with it, let me know in the comments. If you have an idea or something to share that can benefit other people, let me know in the comments. And if you want more of this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. This is Khaazra. Be good.